I'm gonna post it in a second.
5 years.
I waited till it went out. Okay, I'm posting it now.
Gershon wants to. You know Gershon Braun? Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I do.
What page are you starting with, Rabbi?
We're not going to be using the Sefer today.
You're not using the Sefer?
We're doing a standalone.
Standalone.
It's within the Mahalach, but it's a standalone. Okay.
And ends up.
Yeah, and
I feel bad. I hope people knew about it. Right? It's actually.
What?
My wife
It wasn't in. Yeah, they announced it. Okay. It's quite important.
It
Actually.
was.
Okay. Okay. So, this, like we said 2 weeks ago, we are working outside the Sefer. Officially, we're working outside the Sefer, shaar habitachon, but we're actually working always within the Sefer as we've developed and been developing and will continue to develop a certain mahalach within the Sefer, which is not always apparent when you're learning Svarim. You have to be ma'ayin and create a certain mahalach, and we've been working on that. So anybody who has been with us for some time now, this Emirat Hashem should fit right in to everything we've been doing, just with different examples and different ways to expand the sugya of bitachon. And for those who have not been paying attention and following, you still will be able to follow, and everything will be okay. Just for those who are into it, this will be weiter into it. The overall goal is to expand our minds, as I think all of Torah is supposed to do. It's to really expand us to understand life in a better way. There's different types of Torah, but what we're working on right now, bitachon, is really a mind expansion. And I've seen it. People continue to come over to me, Baruch Hashem, and they tell me stories that happen to them on the daily. What's going on at work, what's going on with the family, and how what we've been learning in shaar habitachon has changed their life immeasurably. I mean, it's at least once a week people are coming over to me. My wife said, "Where were you? Why were you in Gourmet Glad for like an hour when you should have been there for like 20 minutes?" I said, bitachon chavra. 2 guys got me. One guy right when I walked in, he took 10, 15 minutes, and then another guy in the milk aisle, he also wanted to tell me, and we were going through it, which is great. I have to work on my own family and wife's bitachon. Sometimes when I go to Gourmet Glad, I don't go back so fast, But I'll go upon him. It's working. It's mamish working. It's mamish working. Anybody who's been here since the beginning has either come over to me in some way or another and told me a certain ma'isa that's changed them. They handle the situation differently. And I'm sure people who haven't told me, they have changed. Fine. So with that, let's start with Siyata D'Shmaya. So we're holding right now in 2 simultaneous zman right now. Number 1 zman is the spiritual zman. We're holding in between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, otherwise known as the Aseret Tshuva. And it's a time of tshuva, it's time of slicha, time of kapara. For some, for many, it's a time of pachad, fear, time of dread, ayum v'nora. What are my sins going to cause? What's going to happen to me this year? What's going to be with me, my family, the world? Rosh Hashanah yikasevun, b'yom tzom kippur yichasemun. Kam yavim, kam yibareun, mi yichye, mi yamos. Mi bekitzo, mi lo bekitzo. Who's going to live? Who's going to die? Who's going to die in his time appropriately? Who's not going to die in the appropriate zman? Mi b'mayim. Who's going to drown? Mi ba'esh. And we go on. We don't have to continue in the Sama Tokef. Well, we're doing it in a few days in Mitzvah Shem. There's a certain pachad. There's a pachad. And the way that we go through it in our mind is our sins, our past year, is going to cause us to be in one of these categories. We're hoping it's the yichya. Right? We're hoping it's the shalva, the nice ones, the yanuach, menucha, and not all the other examples that are given in Tzan Tokef. So the first Zman that we're living in is the Seres Tshuva right now. That's what we're going through. And again, for some people, there's a certain fear. And there should be an appropriate pachad. Now, the second Zman we're going through right now, and this is something that is constantly occurring. It comes through Tekufas, but the one we're in right now is, we're going to call it right now PC, post-COVID. Right? There's the post-COVID era. There's certain maniacs in the world trying to destroy other countries. They're threatening nuclear warfare. I had a guy come over to me. He's scared. He's scared of this because this guy said something about nukes. And he's mamish scared. Hurricanes, destroying property, people, lives, wreaking devastating damage, finances. Anybody who's in that world, ups and downs, high rates, low rates, what's going to be with the rates, gas prices. It's always, right, always on top of our minds. Young people, unfortunately, passing away. People who, shalom bekitzo. I heard 2 stories already today, unfortunately. Some young, some a little bit older, but both not in their time. Crime. You look at the news, murders, what's going on. Pretty close to home. It's a time of fear and dread. There's a pachad, there's an ayim, there's a nor. What's going on? Emunah 101 states, Ani ma'amin, I believe with complete faith that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. Ani ma'amin, I believe with complete faith that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does everything out of His love and for the best. Ani ma'amin, I believe with complete faith that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a plan and everything has a purpose. Yes? Emunah 101. So what's the tachlis of all this fear? What's the purpose of it all? It's not fun to have these things going through our system. Each person according to what he is paying attention to, what he's becoming emotional about. No one likes to live in that way. Ayim v'nora pachad. It could be from all these examples and many more. Family inyanim, school inyanim, monetary. So many different examples that people go through. Families, communities, both. What's the tachlis of the ayim v'nora, the fear? Of course, this is a question that we could ask on any Tuesday or Sunday. Which happens to be, we're bringing it out amongst the shir, Sesmei Tshuva. So we're going to go through a little bit of a mahalach. At the end is going to be the main point, obviously. Just to jump to the end, it wouldn't resonate as much. We'd understand, but we need to build it up a little bit. And we're going to start with the union of tshuva that we're currently involved with. So in the Sesmei Tshuva, and tshuva means, if you just translate it into English, which is never good, but it's something to work with, tshuva means to return. To return. That's what it means. Where are we going? Where are we returning to? That's what the word means, to return. So where are we going? Where do we go? Where are we coming back to? We just learned Shuva Yisrael Ad Hashem Elokech. Shuva Yisrael Ad Hashem Elokech. That's where we're going. Return until HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Those who know the sugya, it's Ad V'Ad Bichlal, which itself could be a shir. What does it mean? Ad Bichlal, Ad V'Ad Bichlal. Now, we could go through Rambams here. Maybe I'll quote a few Rambams in Hilchos Tshuva. The Rambam says, Kol Nevi'im Kulan. Every Navi, Tzivu Ala Tshuva. Every Navi is commanding on Tshuva, which means even Moshe Rabbeinu. Every Navi is commanding about Tshuva. Ve'ein Yisrael Nagalan El B'Tshuva. Klal Yisrael is only going to be redeemed through Tshuva. This is a famous line of the Rambam. Everybody quotes this line. Ukvar Hivticha Torah, and the Torah gives a haftacha, a security, a promise. Shasof Yisrael Lasos Tshuva Besov Galusan. Every member of Klal Yisrael is going to do Tshuva at the end of time. When we are in Nagalan, and then we're going to be redeemed. It's a very nice promise that the Torah gives, that the Rambam reveals to us. It's not clear necessarily in the Torah. Rambam brings it out. Shneimar v'haya ki yavo alecha kol advarim, when all these things happen to you, v'shavta Hashem lokecha, you're going to return to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You will return. It's a guarantee, the Torah says. V'shavta. Moshe Rabbeinu said these words from, of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'shavta, you will return. V'shav Hashem Elokecha, and you return to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Some learn that Hashem will return. You're going to meet with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Gedol tshuva shemekaravetz es ha'adam l'shechina. Tshuva is great that it brings a person back to Kadosh Baruch Hu, back to the Shechina. Shenemar shuva Yisrael ad Hashem Elokecha. You do tshuva until you get back to being one with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. He brings another thing. He says, Kolomar, what does that mean? Im tachzor b'tshuva, says the Rambam, if you return in tshuva, be tidbak. To me, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are cleaving. You do tshuva, you're back with me. So that's what tshuva is. Tshuva is about returning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's it. If anybody says, what's tshuva? The answer is not Vidoy, Charata, and Azir Zachet. That is not the correct answer. We're being recorded over here. That's not the right answer. Tshuva means returning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have many psukim in the Torah. How do you do that? We'll get to it. Tshuva means returning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Beginning of tshuva and the end of tshuva. Nothing else to talk about. That's the answer to the question. The reason for that, besides just that's what the psukim are discussing, is that we've discussed, and I'll get back to it in a minute, but we've discussed even here that we don't always do tshuva because of sins. Right? The mashal I give, and I always give, it's a very simple mashal. We can make it fancy, but we'll keep it simple. The kid goes to Los Angeles for college, and every day he calls his parents. How's it going over there? It's great. Da-da-da. My roommates, the people, the class. And then after 2 weeks, he calls every week. And after a month, he's calling once a month. And then after some time, he's b'chlal not calling at all. Did he sin? He didn't sin. His parents called him. He'd speak to them. He wasn't upset at them at all. Just he got involved with other things. He's in college. He's dealing with stuff. He forgot about his parents. And then he realizes, you know what? I really got to reconnect with my parents. Got to go home. I got to call them. I got to Zoom with them, whatever it is. And that's called tshuva. Yes or no? It's called tshuva. Did he sin? Did not sin. But he's returning to his parents. So you can't define tshuva as vidoy, charada, ziv zachet. That's not always true. That is a prat in the sugi of tshuva. It has to be understood so well. Comes El, comes Yom Norayim, and we all have to do tshuva. Really, do we do tshuva the whole year? It's ad Hashem Elokecha. Sometimes from sin. Most often, for good, happy, healthy Jews, it is not necessarily from sin. And if we spend our time on the sin sugya, we b'chlal don't do tshuva at all. We just miss the whole boat. But classically, so let's go to the classic tshuva. Classic tshuva is understood as a person sins, right? Sins, he's a lashon hara, he steals a little bit, he doesn't, he takes food without saying brachas, he doesn't, whatever, little things here and there. And now he needs to fix his ways. So he does vidoy, scharata, ziv zachet, we're getting to that time, Yom Kippur. Yet, and this is more just repeating itself, just so we can get the point, make it clear. Yet the ikar is chasr min sefer, as they say. The main point is missing from the avodah. Because if that would be true, if the inyan of tshuva would be defined as, even in the world of sin, even in the world of sinning, if tshuva would be defined as admitting, feeling bad, promising never to do it again, if that would be, what's the return? What's the return? Where are you going? Why did you do tshuva? I don't get punished. I want to be a mi yichya guy. I don't want to be a mi yamos guy. Yes? So I do tshuva. Sham, Gan, Gazan. We want to have a sweet new year. We want to have a year of pranasa, a year of good health, refuas, brias. That's what we want. So we understand that we need to tshuva, klap al chet, we need to do vidoy and charat, we do all that stuff in order to have a sweet new year. So if, and probably most people, not everybody, most people who are doing tshuva on sins, and the way they do tshuva on sins is the vidoy and the charat and the ziv zachet. Why are they doing it? So they don't get punished, and so they have a happy new year, right? Where's the return? What did you return to? You're trying to get out of punishment. You're trying to have a happy year. Beautiful, it's great. What's the return? What's the tshuva, sof? He'll say, oh, you're turning from your bad actions, you're turning from your wayward ways. It doesn't really go. It's not really pshat. And this is why, even in the world of sin, we're not really doing tshuva totally properly. The main inyan of tshuva is returning to Hashem. Why are we clapping achet? Because when we sinned, not only was the action a problem, the action, pick any action you want, don't say it out loud, whatever action that was, but at the same time you did the action, you also distanced yourself from Kadosh Baruch Hu. Yes or no? Two things happen. We have to become done. We have to be very clear. Two things always happen in every sin we do. We did something wrong. We did a siyah, an action that was not correct. And at the same time, our mind and heart was distant from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's very, very hard. There might be situations, it's very hard to do a sin and also your mind and your heart is with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's a hard thing. Aver lishma maybe, that's a sugya not for now, I'm not even going to get into that. But if you are doing a sin, let's go with 99.9% of the time, we'll leave a little bit of a room, yeah? Your mind and your heart are not with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? True or not true? True. And therefore, what's tshuva? Tshuva is to recognize not just what you did was wrong, of course. I did this, and I feel bad for this thing, and I don't want to do this thing again. That's great. But the mind and the heart has to be, and I want to return to Kadosh Baruch Hu, because when I do these things wrong, I've distanced myself from Him, and the overall goal of the clapping is to rid myself of that which removed me from my connection, from my kesher to the Borei Olam. I want to get back to that place. If that's not part of our tshuva system, Iker Chaser Min HaSefer. You might get the mitzvah called, you might get the actual mitzvah of tshuva done according to the Rambam, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu might give you a sweet new year, Mitzvah Shem. And He does give all Jews a sweet new year, and He doesn't smite them. But you've missed the main point of tshuva, the panemius of tshuva, which could change a person's life. Why is it that most people do tshuva, their life doesn't change? They go back again the next year and it happens again. Because Iker Chaser Min HaSefer. You missed the main point. You did the vidui thing. Hashem scratched off the Maisa Isser. Good. So next year, you're going to still make the money and you're still going to have the refuahs and all the good things. But your life didn't change because you didn't change anything. You didn't bring the mind and the heart back to where it once was. You didn't do tshuva. So when we sinned, we forgot about HaKadosh Baruch Hu for that moment. And when we sinned, we'll bring it out again, weiter. When we sinned, we don't realize how much of an insult. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't get insulted. But we have to think about it in human terms. How much we insulted the Borei Olam by the fact that He gives us everything that we have. Right? We're maminim. Right? We're coming to the sugi, we're maminim here. So everything that we have comes from Him, and that we went against Him. Now, in human terms, that's a slap in the face. Right? Of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is well above that, but we have to live in the way that we understand. That's how He wants us to live. It's the biggest slap in the face. Right? When did we come back and give a kiss to that face? Right? Where's the tshuva? Clapping achet, I don't want to die for slapping in the face. I want to have a sweet new year for that slap in the face. But when did you address the slap in the face? It's a very selfish. Think about it. There's a lot of mixture of pieces here. I can't explain everything out. It just would take too long. But I'll throw things in. And hopefully, what you understand, you understand. The classic tshuva is very selfish. Iker Chaser Min HaSefer. The real tshuva is selfless. Before we talk about myself and my sweet new year and my punishment. Let's talk about the Borei Olam. What happened over there? How we insulted him. That's the main thing. So, tshuva, whether you sinned, or even if you didn't sin, you just became distant from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the ultimate goal of tshuva is tshuva ad Hashem Lokecha. Very clear, according to the Rambam. Very clear. It's also very logical. We just haven't thought about it all that much. And we get caught up in the world of sin, so therefore everything that, when you learn younger that tshuva means sinning and vidui, the way you read the Rambam, or whatever you're learning about tshuva, automatically goes to the place of sin. Did you see any words of sin when I was reading those words of the Rambam? There wasn't a single word. But our mind is programmed. This is so many things in life. It's a little bit too big of a sugya, but we're so pre-programmed in many ways that the way you see something in the real time is skewered, lav dafka, appropriately, because of something that happened many, many years ago. So we can misinterpret a Rambam, Gemara's, life itself. There's so many things that we misinterpret because of not being taught properly when we're younger, or not thinking properly in the now. The list goes on and on. Anything that's broken in your life is because of some misinterpretation. The sugya of bitachon is trying to bring back. What we're trying to do here is try to realign ourselves, rewire ourselves, think properly. So tshuva is about rekindling, reuniting, reconnecting. That's what tshuva means. Now, one of the problems is that we think we live in the physical realm. That's the most obvious, the most clear realm. Everything, the body's here, me speaking, that you're hearing it. It's like a very physical. Everything's physical. We touch, we feel. Everything. The way we sense the world is through our senses. But we know, and I've discussed, and you've heard many times from Rebbe and Sfarim and things, that there are other layers of reality in this reality. It's not just the physical realm. There's an entire world called the Olam HaRegesh, Olam of feeling. It's a world. There's an Olam HaMachshava. For those who know the Sfarim, that might be called Olam HaYetzira, and Olam HaBriya, for those who understand. Sometimes we utilize emotions and thinking. Most times, maybe 99.9, we are used by thinking and emotions, meaning we are not actively in control of those parts of who we are. We are taken over by those parts of who we are. We don't often choose how we react to situations or how we think in a situation. We're already pre-programmed. It's not active, it's not conscious, it's not mindful. It's a pre-program which you believe to be the MS because, well, you've been doing this for like a lot of years, Here's the way I always react in this situation, the way I always think in this situation. The lav dafka, right. Because the same situation keeps repeating itself and the outcome is not always so good or so happy. Something's broken. But we are not in control of those layers of reality. Physical, most often we are. I don't just punch myself in the face. Control. If I want to go eat something, I go and I take something and I go eat something. We're very in control of the physical realm. But the other layers of reality, we're not. Now, everything we do, it's impossible. Everything we do, physically do, comes with preceding thoughts. Right? I'm not speaking unless I'm choosing to speak. And when I'm speaking, there's also thinking going on in the background. Has to be. There's no other way. It's a very, very unconscious because right now I'm focusing on my speech. But to get me to say a word, to get you to do anything, putting your hand on your head, you thought about that first for a nanosecond, And as long as the hand's on the head, you're still thinking about that in a very subconscious way. Now, what happens when you're going through life and a certain situation comes in? You hear a piece of news, you hear a piece of information, not necessarily news, just information. So that moment, you didn't have any preceding thoughts because it came at you, right? But you process what's happening. The situation, I'm processing, or the piece of information that's coming in. Hey, did you know this? Now my brain starts to think about it. Right? That's how a brain works. Very simple, right? I'm not a neurosurgeon or a brain scientist. I think that's just very, very simple how your brain works. Now, when we start processing information, a situation occurs in a current event, or something new that you're told about, whatever it might be, most often, what am I thinking about? What's going through my mind? It's usually what I learned about probably in first grade. Who, what, where, why, and when. Right? What are those? The 5 W's of, I don't know, language or something, right? Who's doing this? Who's this happening to? What's going on? Where is this happening? We all these questions. Because we're newscasters in our brain. We always have to know all the, even though it means nothing to our lives most of the time, we have to ask these questions. It has to go through who, what, where, why? Why is this happening? When did this happen? Even though when this happened, really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of times, sometimes it does matter. Most often it doesn't matter. That's how we process the information. Through the 5 W's. Right? You're probably not even conscious of it. It just happens. It's automatic. That's how we're built. That's how we're taught since first grade. Now, the way we process, that way, we're being controlled. That's not us in control. That is automatic response system. ARS. Is that actually something? Maybe it is something. I just made it up. ARS, automatic response system. Or automatic reaction system. Or ARP, automatic response processing. We can make it all fancy, you know? And if that's the case, we're Iker Chaser Min HaSefer. The way we process information, again, I'm joking, but I'm not joking at the same time. 99.9% of people, the way they process information, Iker Chaser Min HaSefer. Why? And we discussed this in the Chabura. This is not necessarily something new. I'm packaging it differently. So those who have been here should know the answer. Right, we're learning the Sugya Bitachon here. What's the problem with the way we process? Which means what? What's the first processing point? The first nakuda that should always be going through the system before the 5 W's? The Borei. Who? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Where? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? When? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is no other correct way to process. We don't do it, but that's the proper way. So we live our lives, I'm telling you, it's crazy. It's so simple, but, and I'm also get affected by this. I'm always working on this. We live our lives Iker Chaser Min HaSefer. Our entire life is Iker Chaser Min HaSefer. Because if you hear anything in this world, and the Borei Olam is not at the beginning, you're already behind the eight pole. You're not a mammon. Not in rishis. You're not going to get flogged, right? But you're not going to process correctly. What happens? Oh my gosh. Here, everyone down. Here, ready? This is from the current, within the year. Russia attacks Ukraine. Is this going on? Or did go on? I don't know. I'm not exactly sure they're holding anymore. We could give a whole share on that. No, it's not the time. Attacks Ukraine, and he threatens nuclear war. Right? I told you, I spoke to a person. There was a pachad. He was at a pachad. I'm like, so what? I'm like, so what? Oh my, what's going to be? Gas prices are going to go up. The stock market's going to go crazy. I better build a bunker. Do you know that a person came to me and told me he was looking into building a bunker? I think out on the island maybe. There's guys doing this now. It's a big... I said, you should go into the business of building bunkers. You know how much money you can make from the pachad? It's not a joke. Yeah, we're going to talk. You know how much money you can make on this stuff? You know how much money is made building off the fear of people? But he was thinking about it for a second. I said, stop thinking about it. Just build it for others. Be a Jew, Make some money off this. But people are nervous. We got to move to Eretz Yisrael. Got to get real estate in Eretz Yisrael. Oh no, I don't have money for real estate in Eretz Yisrael. Oh no, maybe I need to get a better job because I don't make enough money. If those school tuitions weren't so high, I'd have more money and I would. This is what goes through people's heads. When a situation comes in and they don't process properly, this is what happens to a person. Round and around and around in this psychotic loop that ends up in worry, anxiety, could be anger. There's a lot of things that can come out. You probably deal with people after the fact. They don't eat. There's many things that happen. Want to say something?
Yeah, I'm worried about, well, not worried, but I wonder if a way to describe this is really lamashal, but I think it works very well, a filter. Because the process is what messes us up. When we start processing, we're already messing up.
That's what we're getting to.
The filter, if you had the...
Correct.
If you had the habitachon filter...
it would be a whole other process.
And by the way, be careful.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
You have to change your filter all the time and clean it, because if you don't change your filter...
If we get the main way, you don't have to change it.
Well,
the main way is who the Borei Olam...
You have to renew your filter.
Oh, you mechazik your filter.
Mechazik your filter, right?
Mechazik, not change it.
Because the filter gets schmutzed up because you constantly get bombarded.
That's what we're working on. That's what we're working on. That's what we're working on.
It's a great
so
notion.
If the way we would... So the way that people... And people have this... Everybody had this a little bit here and there. I'm making it, of course, a joke. For some people, it's not a joke. Others, it is a joke. Some people thought about the prices. Whatever it is. But where's the Kadosh Baruch Hu? Who thought about him even one time when they heard that news? Again, the 0.1% of people did. There are people. The mind, listen very carefully, the mind has become distant from the one above. Yes or no? Anytime we hear this type of stuff, and it's all day long, it doesn't have to just be crazy events. It could be the daily moment-to-moment situations of life. If you don't have the filtering, processing, whatever you want to call it, properly installed, the operating system, I like to call it, where it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu first, then your mind has become distant from Kadosh Baruch Hu. You need to do teshuvah. This is the main teshuvah. Could be there's no safer in the world that'll say this. I think this is 100% emes. Everything comes back to this. How did you sin? The sin started many, many layers before the actual asiyah. It started with something wrong over here. Tshuva. Putin, Russia attacks Ukraine. Hashem runs the world. He's causing this to happen. He wants something from the world, but more specifically from the Jewish people and us. This is from his love and for our best. Now, after you get that in your head and you believe that, first you have to just say it. It'll be up here. You don't necessarily feel it yet. You might still get worried afterwards. But if we keep saying it and we educate ourselves, it's very simple. Just educate ourselves like everything else in this life, in this world. And you work on that way of thinking again and again and again, you will no longer have any of the worries anymore. Gone. No more worries. You did the Ikar Tshuva. What does the Rambam say? What's the Ikar Tshuva? Going back into the same situation, you have the same koach. He says this is the same lady, right? He goes through the whole thing. It's the same situation, and you don't do the thing. The Ikar Tshuva is, don't listen to the news, but you hear the news, you hear the situation, and you don't become worried. You went back to the same place, the same situation. Every 10 years, there'll be another guy. It won't be Russia. It'll be some other country that's going to threaten nuclear. This happens every few years. I don't know why we forget about it. It always happens. And you're not scared anymore. You don't have to build bunkers, right? Unless you're making money off it, of course. which I'm still pro building bunkers. And if anyone wants, I will give money towards that. I would love to make some. I'm sure. Generators, it's huge. Especially now with the hurricane, generators are going up 100%, 500%. The next one's coming to New York, you know. The next one must be coming to New York. Akopanim. New disease spreading rapidly through the country. You heard? Oh no. Masks, lines. Better get lots of toilet paper. Gotta get that toilet paper. If things are still not in the shelves. I went to 2 or 3 stores. I can't find Diet Dr. Pepper. I guarantee it's from PC post-COVID. No? Yes or no? Have you seen? I got the little bottles from Gourmet, but I couldn't find the can. What's going on? Your wife bought them all, right? Because she's nervous, PC, right? It's coming back. Diet Dr. Pepper's gone off the shelves. Toilet paper's there. We realize it's really Diet Dr. Pepper that we need. But there's still things that are out, right? People still have trauma that they can't get that thing that they wanted, whatever it is. Cereals are missing for the first time in years. I can't get certain boxes of cereals. This is crazy. My kids are going nuts. You can't get the Cocoa Pebbles in the big bag. You have to get the boxes now. I can't save the money on the Walmart. But it's going to be PC. Post-COVID. So now you hear that this new disease is spreading, and a person's getting scared. Okay, you know what? It's good. But I remember COVID. You know, I got to work from home. It was nice. And then what happens? But my kids are also home. Oh no, not the Zooms. If I told you what I personally went through, everybody went through stuff. I had a kid. When you have a kid, your wife's out of commission, right? She was upstairs, and I was dealing with the command center. I had multiple phones, not enough, of course. Multiple children. It was gewaldic. It challenged every single ounce of everybody, obviously, But a person he's getting nervous. You know what? Maybe we should move to Venezuela for a few months. We gotta get out of here. Oh no, we don't have enough money. Maybe I should get a better job. School tuitions. And around we go. Same loop. Nervous, scared, frightened, anxious. The mind has become distant from the one above. Where is he in all that? Tshuva. New disease spreading through the country. Hashem runs the world. He's causing it to happen. He wants something from the world, and specifically from the Jewish people. This is from his love, from our best. Tshuva or not tshuva? Iker tshuva. There's nothing better than that. You get this in your head, you do this tshuva, everything changes. We'll just to quote 2 sources, because I don't usually use source, whatever. Early the Opian says, just like the body needs food, air to live. We have Early the Opian Talmud over here, Grand Talmud. So what's the air of the soul? What's the air of the soul? Agav, he doesn't say this, but food is Torah, water is tefillah. So what's the air? Food is Torah. He doesn't say this, I'm telling you, this is what I'm saying. Food is Torah, water is tefillah. There's nothing more you need than Torah and tefillah. So what's air? Emunah bitachon. Which is, of course, here. Emunah and bitachon. You can't live life without emunah bitachon. Rabbeinu Bechaya says in Karakemach, he says the main thing in all of Torah, and mitzvahs is emunah. He says, Ki mi she'ein lo emunah, a person that does not have emunah, Noach lo shelo nivra, it's better that he was not created. Better that he wasn't created. Now we're going to retranslate that line at the end. If anybody remembers, Rebbe spoke about this multiple times, but better that he wasn't created. We're going to go a little bit over time, so anybody who needs to go, I just want to finish this process here, but I'll move faster. Having bold over here. The main tshuva of life is having HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the forefront of our mind. That's the main tshuva in life. Bring him back. Bring us back. Either way. Meet in the middle. This is the middle. Shuvi Yisrael ad Hashem Lokechem. We return to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He returns to us. Where do we meet? Right here. Right here. Recognize the Kadosh Baruch Hu in everything. Process life. To the Borei Olam. This is emunah and bitachon. This is emunah and bitachon. Teshuvah is returning to the optimum state of a Jewish soul, one that lives with the Kadosh Baruch Hu every moment, emunah and bitachon. This is true. So the question is, so why all the fear? Right, that was the question we started with. So what's the tachlis of all the fear? Two answers. There might be more answers. I'm just going to tell you two. We're living in a time of unprecedented, ingenious inventions, technology, science, medicine, luxuries, right? Ingenious luxuries. Ingenious science, what's going on? Medicine. It's crazy what's going on. Correct? Never before. As the world continues, it will continue to be like never before. Never before. It's always going to be unprecedented as the way the world is going. Once we hit that boom many years ago. But we're also living in an unprecedented time of, ready? Okay, pay attention. Reliance. Trusting science, technology, medicine, and luxuries. Never before have we trusted medicine so much. The more, the fancier, the better numbers in brain surgery, the more we trust in brain surgery. The better the science, the better the technology, the more we trust in our phones. We trust. This is what's going on. This is natural. But we're forgetting the main thing. This is the problem. We're rarely connecting all of the above back to Kadosh Baruch Hu. No one says, wow, look at this new amazing procedure that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed the doctors and the scientists to come up with. The end of that line doesn't usually happen. It's usually, wow, look at what the science has come up with. Science? I'm being strong about this, but the truth is, it's mamish kfir. To say that science came up with something, that the medicine came out with something, and you don't end off the line because the Borei Olam allowed it, that's kfir. Now, in the back of our minds, everybody does believe it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu, there's no question, therefore it's not really kfir, but we're talking about conscious living, not unconscious, subconscious, nano-conscious living. I'm upset how the schools teach, it's going on forever, but how they teach sciences. I've discussed this with people. How do you not say, look how plants take in light, photosynthesis, how they grow, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed it to be so. That's it, very simple. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided there should be a process called photosynthesis. You sometimes have in the Siddurim, most often the Sephardi Siddurim, right on the top of the page, Yud Gei Vav Gei, because otherwise you might daven and forget about the Borei Olam. So you have it right there. It's every page in a Jewish school, a frum school, every page of every book, math, science, everything, right on the top should be Yud Gei Vav Gei. How is it not that way? I'm sorry, I don't think this is going to go viral, so I'm not so nervous, but it's a subconscious like kfira. It's like a little bit of kfira almost. How do we not put everything back to that place? Is that not true? Tell me if I'm wrong. Is anything in science, anything in history, I don't care if it's Bartholomew or Columbus, I don't care if it's earth science or chemistry, I don't care if it's how to balance your checkbook. Who came up with checkbooks? Is math. It's all based on math. Is anything not origined, sourced in a Kadosh Baruch Hu? Could it be? Tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to make mistakes here. Yes or no? No? Yeah?
100% right.
You all agree?
You have to believe it. You either accept it as a priori. It all stems from a priori.
Where does that come from? The Borei Olam.
It starts
With the Borei Olam. He created the world. And he continues. Now,
He also creates the thought that you forget that not to have a Borei Olam as the first thing.
Okay.
That's
Sure.
That's also from him.
sure, no problem. And we have to work on fighting against that natural state of man.
That test.
I think you would have to have, in order to really understand what you're transmitting, I think you have to have a conversation with somebody who isn't raised in a belief of Hashem, Kadosh Baruch Hu, to offset what is his priority in order to understand the other priority. I think that's a very sensitive part of understanding it. Otherwise, we lose a tactile touch to what we're trying to say. What I'm saying is, if we're brought up from day one, you go from kindergarten, you come home, the child learns Shema Yisrael, he doesn't know of anything until you see the other side. In other words, without a mirror.
Got to start somewhere.
I think that's how you have to truly process this. Now, I'm not saying, now I know that a lot of rabbis would not agree. There's a guy called, was it Hitchens, the philosopher, who did not believe in God.
Well,
And in other words, you shouldn't be afraid of it. If your belief is firm, he's not going to scare you. It'll only make your belief that much stronger.
Right. Right. So we have to, again, we're relying on everything. We've come to relying on, not just using it. We're also relying on. That's the problem. We have to use the world. Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to use the luxuries and the science and the medicine. He wants us to. Not to rely on it, to continue to rely on him. Trying to make it faster. Here, we are supposed to use the technology of life, not rely on it. We shouldn't expect that the medicine works, rather hope that Hashem allows the medicine to work. Change it up a little bit. Now, when we don't think properly, and we don't bring Kadosh Baruch to the forefront of everything that's going on, then Kadosh Baruch, and we start relying on stuff outside of him, Kilu, then Kadosh Baruch has to show that nothing is unbreakable, nothing is indestructible, nothing is infallible. So he shakes things up. He creates breaks. Science doesn't always work. There's a lot of fear in this world. Scare tactics to show you cannot rely on this stuff. It's not possible. Relying 100%, there's no such thing. Everything has a breaking point. Nothing is 100%, only the burial. That takes emunah b'tach. That's the reason number one for the fears. Number two, most people, correct me if I'm wrong, but most people use whatever emunah b'tach they have in defensive situations. They use it defensively. When parnasa is really rough, when someone gets very sick, chas v'shalom, when a single is getting much older or older and much older than his or her peers, then he activates his superpower called emunah b'tachon. Then he takes out the books, then he davens, he goes to the kaisel and starts to cry. But yet, when parnasa is good, or a little bit rough, naturally rough, when someone's mildly unwell, headache or even a little bit more, but nothing out of the ordinary necessarily, or a single still in between the ages of 19 and 22, then we try to do it on our own. We don't think about the burial. Yes or no? This is how most people, this is just how it goes. Mild situations, I could take care of that. They're not saying that, but that's just what's happening. That's the mitzvahs. It's only when things get very rough, then a person, got to activate emunah b'tachon. Now, emunah b'tachon, if we discuss this, is every moment of every day, in every situation, in everything. There can be no moment that the Ba'ur Olam is not running, emunah, and therefore there could be no moment that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is running this moment for the best, b'tachon. Can't be. It cannot be. So therefore, emunah b'tachon is not a defensive mechanism. It's offensive, it's defensive, it's offensive. It's everything. There's no such term as offensive. I just made that up. I think it's a good one, no? It's a guy who plays both sides in football. He's offensive, defensive. He's offensive. That's a new one.
Well, thanks.
You like that? It's not just a tool for survival, which is what most people use and when we be talking. Things are starting to change in the world. I even see. Just look at the farm stores. A lot of stuff's coming out. When we be talking, hopefully it's good stuff. But things are starting to, people are picking up on it more. Hopefully, not just as a survival tool. That's what I'm scared about. Because I'm not scared. Because the world, there's so much fear, and the Jewish answer for fear is emunah bitachon. So that's why these books are coming out. But again, a lot of times they're teaching what to do after the really, really bad thing happened. That's not living life of emunah bitachon.
Well, it's sometimes what shakes you up to bring you back.
So one second, that's what we're getting to. Please.
Maybe
Don't ruin the whole thing, Dove. Okay, anyway.
No, but you're saying maybe it's a catalyst to remind you of what.
That's what we're getting to. I'm building slowly.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm joking. The Ribono Shel Olam is in everything at all times, and so we need to have activated emunah bitachon always. Telling signs of an active emunah bitachon. Ready? Telling signs. Person who has constant yishuv hadas. He's active living with the Bari Olam. It's all good. Good days, it's all good. Happy, constantly happy, smiling. Involved in hakaras hatov. Someone who has emunah bitachon is being makar tov multiple times per day. Well, if everything you receive is from the Kadosh Baruch Hu and everything's for your best, how could you not be makar tov? Otherwise, you're just kafui tov. Strong, focused davening. Davening is you connecting to the Bari Olam, the one who's every single moment, everything's happening for him. So how could we not have that doesn't mean perfect. We're still human. We should be excited for davening. We should have moments of a lot of kavanah. Focused learning, more time for learning. I'm going to be talking. Kadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, so why don't I have more time to learn? Again, everybody's situation is different. Focusing more of our mind cells and brain power on tzedakah, on chesed. We discussed that well early in the Chaburas. If we would use our minds even a little bit, take it away from the workplace and put it into some kind of tzedakah, chesed organization, we'd have so many more important organizations which are needed, unfortunately, but they're needed. A life without active emunah bitachon is not truly a life. You don't have the air. You're not really breathing. You think you are, but you're not. Those who are davik to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? Be sidbak. What did the Rambam say? Tshuva means dveikis. Rambam said, not me. If you have dveikis, you have chaim. I'm alive. But I might have dveikis. So many people in this world who are alive, but they don't have dveikis. So what's the Torah saying? That's a lie. That's a straight out lie in the Torah. Chas v'shalom. There's so many people. Goyim have dveikis, but they're alive. It says chaim. So what's the answer? That's not chaim. There's two layers of chaim. There's physically living, and then there's living physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's a different chaim. Tshuva is to return to that place.
It's not different chaim.
No, say it.
It is chaim.
It is chaim. It's the different chaim that we're used to. It's chaim mamish. That's what real chaim is. That's Ben's saying a good point. That is chaim. What we think of chaim is not. It's a dimyon. It's a physical.
Because you can't say that the animals have a different. You can't say that that's we're going to live like the animals and that's chaim.
Right.
That's chaim for them.
Some of them.
But that's not our chaim.
It's not chaim. It's not chaim.
Not
I'm
what
trying
we're-
to get to
not-
the end.
It's not what we're capable of.
Correct. It's not what we're built for. It's not what we're put here for. Okay, I'm trying. I'm sorry. I know we're going very over, but I'm getting there. The 12. No. I'm myself. It's okay.
I have 6 more minutes.
Okay, 1 second. So,
I don't want to miss.
so therefore, if emunah bitachon is the true chaim, and if a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to live a life of chaim, zachrei l'chaim, melchavet b'chaim, what chaim is talking about. Some people say it's physical life. It's much more than that. But if we are not going to activate that chaim unless it's a defensive situation, so guess what a Kadosh Baruch Hu does? He puts you into the defensive situation. He makes you scared in order to activate your emunah bitachon. That's how we want to live? What would be if a person wakes up in the morning and says, "Kadosh Baruch Hu, thank you for my parnasa. Thank you for everything I have. Every dollar is from you. Every thought that goes at work, it's all mamash from you. Mamash. Mind, body, soul, I believe it. So does he need to take money away from us to activate our Emunah B'tachon? We're already activated.
Well, he could still do that.
He can. This is not going to, happy brother, this is not going to take away all nisyonos. It will not. What's it going to do is, first of all, and I'm not going to say guaranteed, it will make it much less. In frequency, it will not have to happen as much. Generally, right? Even that is generally. And also, everything will be less intense.
But as much as we think we're like holding a certain level of bitachon, sometimes we need that in order to strengthen it even more.
That could be, and
You're
that's why it's
tested and tested again.
But a person who has the bitachon will believe, will come to that. Oh, I'm not living active bitachon, so I need to get into that defensive mode to then bring it back.
I'm scared of that line. That you just said.
Which line? We'll say it again. Which line?
You said it'll happen less. That's nervous.
Okay. I stand by it.
Really?
Rove pa'amim of a person, rove people. Again, we have to be careful. It's two roves. Rove people will experience less problems if they're living active in Emunah B'tachon. That means some people might have the same or even more. But rove people, the way that it's going to work,
the experience of it'll be doesn't mean they're not going to be
It
there.
just means those problems will feel less.
it won't need to wake them up.
Fine.
They're already woken up.
So it's a nuance, but it's an important nuance.
So did you get what I said?
You're saying that there are things that'll still happen, but you won't be as challenged. Is that what you're saying?
That also. There might also be less things.
How could that be? How could you say that?
If you following me.
I am following you.
1 second, I'll tell you where you're following me. That we need, if a person lives defensive activated Emunah B'tachon, yes?
He's saying that like
If that's how he's living.
Ish Gamzu, right? Gamzu. He didn't look like all of his problems went away when he was saying Gamzu L'Teva. Nobody would turn around and want to say,
And it's not like
I
he
want to
had a
have a
lot of
life
problems.
like him.
Right.
Okay? That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I
Right?
yeah, that's what I'm saying because I don't know, b'derech hateva, like what I see, like I don't see it, what you the aspect of living as a Baal Bitachon means that my filter is correct and it's cleansed. And as things happen to me, if I have that cleansed filter, then I'll process Hakol B'dei Shemayim, and it should be Tov.
Good.
Ki Tov Hashem.
Correct.
It does not mean, and it's very scary, I'm scared about that line, and it could be so misinterpreted, that you're not going to, that the challenges that you're going to face are going to be, or the things that arise are going to be less. I don't know how you
The
could...
opposite is scary.
It's less frequent.
For real?
If
Yes,
you
he's
believe,
saying that because of your faith, you're going to probably take different responses, which will cause you to experience less of these nisonios that normally have. I'm sure you've seen people. How does this guy go through? You ever watch some of these people? They seem to be able to get through, and then when you find out about their, belief system, it's like wearing a what do they call those jackets so you don't get
Kevlar.
What?
Kevlar.
Kevlar.
Bulletproof.
It's not bulletproof, but it changes your aspect of life and the way you approach it. So you're going to meet up with less resistance. That's what he's trying to say. And if you do have the trials, when they do come to you, it's a belief. If you speak to many people who have gone through things, that belief system will also minimize and hopefully turn around. Now, I'm sure Rabbi Ginsburg here can understand when we say somebody like Rabbi Schneerson had such a strong belief system. And why do we go to him? Because he was connected. And we want a piece of that connection of his belief system. if I understand it correctly.
which he had to work on,
Of
and
course,
he
works on it
went
day
through.
and night, day and night.
He went through a lot of
Rabbi
trials.
Kanevsky, I went to see Rabbi Kanevsky. The line is halfway back to Jerusalem. You know, from Bnei Brak, the line starts there. Why do they go to him? Because his experiences connect him, and therefore he has a different. He could sleep 1 hour.
But
a
did
night.
they have less Nisayon?
So there's no way you can ever know. There's no possible.
Do
Dove.
you understand what I'm asking?
Dove.
I hear what he's saying, and I hear the conscience.
And I'll tell you, most people will understand what I'm saying, but there will be some people who can't handle it. That's okay.
Maybe
That's okay.
Maybe it's not that less
He's
society.
worried about the issue of making a statement like that. It gives a person an incentive to embrace that filter and not seeing and not feeling
The
that
slowdown.
the nisyonos are limited or less.
Yeah, in fact, what I see,
You know,
I don't know,
it's like-
what I see is actually the Nisayon could actually get bigger, but if the filter's okay,
Correct.
but you said less.
I said less frequent. That doesn't mean you will not get big nisyonos. I didn't say that.
Because
Of course,
it sounds
you're going to get bigger ones.
the greater you get, the
Of
greater
course.
the
I don't know, it's
incentive,
No,
nuance.
otherwise, what's the point of having?
I apologize. I apologize for making the
No,
disruption,
if
but
it's- you can
it's a
understand that.
nuance.
I think
It's a nuance.
Isn't also
But he's worried
The-
about
the
people
frequency-
thinking that it's going to. That
I'm talking to people who are living this way. This is the end of this year. If you've been living this way until now, you will be okay. It's not fake. You can't say, I'm a Baal Bitachon, Hashem talking me test. Yeah, right.
Otherwise, what's the point of the?
We're talking about
bitachon?
real-
You're not going to have the nisyonos.
Talking about real stuff. All right, anyway,
We'll go.
I'll go upon him. I got to finish up anyway. It's very late. But the reason why Kadosh Baruch Hu sent us the fears is to activate our Emunah B'Tachon. So if we would automatically activate it, right? If we have our activated Emunah B'Tachon all day long, we wouldn't need the fears to activate us. We're already activated. What's the tachlis of it? Sometimes huge tzaddikim need tests. There's no question because they're doing other things. They're being mechaper on the whole world or something. But then they understand that because they have the Emunah B'Tachon saying, I know it. This test is for tachlis hatov. Yes? Makes sense, right? Okay. All right, there's a lot more to say, but just to finish off with one pasuk. It says, we say every single Shabbos, Toshev Enosh Adadaka, Kadosh Baruch Hu pushes man down, the Tomer, what does he say?
Shuvu.
Shuvu b'nei Adam. Why does he push us down? Why does he make us scared? Ultimately just for tshuva. But read the pasuk better. What's the first word in the pasuk?
Touch.
Toshev Enosh Adaka, which we translate as pushes us down. No. Toshev is already at the forefront of the pushing down, is already tshuva. Toshev Enosh Adaka. Kadosh Baruch Hu, the whole point is Toshev, is tshuva, the Tomer Shuva b'nei Adam. So Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to remember, in the push he's there, before the push is there, after the push is there, it's all there. And that's why the word, it's all. That's why the word pachad, fear. I have a lot of Muslim, but we'll just end this one. Pachad, pei, ches, dalid, is the same letters as? Same letters. Pei, ches, dalid is pachad, is fear. Dalid, ches, fe, which is?
Push.
To push. Because pachad is supposed to push us towards the Kadosh Baruch Hu, not take us away. Which we saw, there's a lot more in Ramazan, there's a lot more stuff, but if you,